Man, Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. First and foremost, I'd like to start this lesson by giving all praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha, Kodash. Next is double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of Great Millstone who rule well and taught us this 100% truth. Salutations unto the 144,000 doing the work of the Lord in all truth, honor, and sincerity, and shalom to the 1/3 men, women, and children who believe in His word being taught unto them. Shabbat I'm Noah Allah. Back at you with another video entitled "Be Strong in the Lord." You know, I was just watching a video this morning on how Esau, which you already know, you know, Esau is basically erecting all these data centers around the world, and you know, they require a massive amount of infrastructure and, you know, niche kind of equipment and facilities in order to operate and function. And, you know, I've seen videos where, you know, and by the way, you know, they don't really disclose the location of these places, but of course, if you're a resident next to these AI data centers, and of course, naturally, you're gonna know, right? And, you know, I've been hearing things like, you know, the machines make all kind of weird ass noises, man. You know, ultimately, you know, it's demons, man. And you know, we're headed into a time where if we don't get with the whole digital infrastructure, we will be alienated out of society. So that's where the title of this video comes from, which of course is from the Ephesians, the 6th chapter, because we're basically gonna have to stand strong and stand firm in our stance that, you know, we're for Yahweh Hashem Yahshai, and we're not for this new world order. And the reason why you're gonna have to be strong in that stance is because there's gonna be a lot, and I mean a lot, of resistance with you taking that stance. Because you're going against societal norm, you're going against the grain, you're doing something that the majority of the people will be reluctant to do, and then at the same time, what you're going to have is Esau, Edom, paint you as the worst thing going, man. You know, you're going to be labeled an errorist. You know, just at the T at the beginning, you're going to be labeled an errorist. You know, stunter of progress, menace to society, enemy of the state, whatever the case may be. You know, that's why when you read 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter, it talks about how there's going to be a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. Now, usually when you deal with insurrections, that's, you know, against the government. All right. You know, an insurrection is basically an uprising of the people towards the government. But the funny thing is, when you deep it, they are having an uprising against the government, but they're having an uprising against the righteous government, the elect. All right, because the 144,000, the elect comprises of the 144,000 men, right, which will be the governing body of the of the universe. So really, there is going to be an uprising against the government, not wicked government, but rather the government of the Lord. So again, this is why we're going to have to be strong in the Lord, because taking us a firm stance, believing in Yahweh Hashem Yahshai, is going to cost you, you know, your job. Once this money goes digital, it's going to cost you your access to finances. It's going to cost you, you know, several relationships, friends, family, women, maybe children, you know, but hey, let us, you know what, just off saying that, let's start off here. Because, you know, you got to speak on these things, man. You know, it's all good speaking on the blessings and what we're going to receive, and that's still on the cards, you know. But there's also other things on the cards. It's just like when you play blackjack, for example, you got a deck with 7 cards, right? And You might have an ace, you also might have a 2, you might have a J, you might have a 3, 4. You know, you gotta utilize what's in your deck. You know, so anyways, it says in Matthew 10 and 34, think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not, to send peace, but a sword. All right, and I just watched another video, someone talking about God is love. Well, yeah, he does have that aspect to him, but you know, he also has the aspect of hate, man. It tells you that in Romans 9 and 13, which Apostle Paul was reiterating in the Old Testament, where it says, as it is written, for Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. So yeah, God is love, but he's also hate. All right, he delights in mercy, and he also delights in judgment. Okay, people have to get realistic and accept the polarity of the Heavenly Father, man. You know, he created evil, for goodness sake, bro. All this talk, Satan, people give Satan too much credit. But anyways, verse 35, Yahweh Shai speak in Matthew 10, for I am come to set at variance I'm come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a man's foes shall be they of his own household. Once again, reiterating the point of why we have to be strong in the Lord, because we've got Esau, who's our main enemy. You know, the Lord said he will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. Amalek is the head tribe of the nation of Esau. You know, and you know, we're after the Most High's hearts, and naturally we've got that beef, so to speak, with Esau perpetually in these various different generations that we've come. But before that, you know, your foes are going to be they of your own household. Think about when you first woke up to this truth and you tried to, you know, wake up the house, right? Try to let everyone know what the deal is, this, that, and the other. And think about the resistance that you faced. You know, you might have a woman, and you know, maybe she was a sister at one point, and then eventually she fell by the wayside. So now she's against you, and you know, but hey, as it says, a man's foe shall be there of their own household. So it's prophesied. So when these things do happen, think it not strange, right? As it says in 1 Peter 4 and 12. So reading on, it says, he that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he that taketh not his cross and followeth after me is not worthy of me. So you gotta, this is another aspect of being in this truth as well. Hence why the lesson is called Be Strong in the Lord. You have to accept that being in this truth comes with suffering. You will suffer. Suffer is a guarantee. You know, it's not, oh, you may or may not suffer. And also, just because you don't see another brother suffering doesn't mean they ain't suffering, bro. You know, maybe some people are a lot better at internalizing it than you might be. So you just think that, you know, don't ever get in that spirit of, I'm the only one going through it. But what happens is when you speak to people, right, what happens is you find out that you know, you kind of be dealing with the same situation, or that man's situation might be worse than yours, and you're like, damn. So that's why the scriptures say in Sirach, the 2nd chapter, whatever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, man, and be patient when thou art changed to a lower state. All right, and we're really gonna have to exercise that patience when Esau goes full-fledged with his MOTB system, because we're really gonna be in a lower state then, according to the standards of the world. That's why it says in Wisdom of Solomon, the 3rd chapter, and I need to do a lesson on that chapter, man. In the sight of the unwise, they seem to die, but yet their hope is full of immortality. And who are the unwise? Those who are outside of this truth. All right, they're, you know, we seem to die according to them, but I was gonna say, but however, you can't do that. However, our hope is in immortality, because we have these scriptures, and we have the understanding of them, and that's our comfort. Wisdom of Solomon 1:15 says, for righteousness is immortal. All right, so you read that Jeremiah 31:33, and it talks about how the laws are going to be written in our inward parts. So basically insinuating that we're going to be righteous. So then there negates death for the Israelites. Oh, death, where is thy sting? 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter. Okay. So it's important that we're strong in the Lord, man. All right, because Esau is going to put us in situations where our back's against the wall. He's going to try and shun your faith and your integrity and things of that nature, man. So it says in 39, he that findeth his life shall lose it, and he that loseth his life for my sake, shall find it. And part of the way of finding your life is taking that MOTB, man. Because and that's why it says you're gonna lose it, because you've trusted in man. The scriptures talk about cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, man. All right, so we need to rely wholeheartedly on the Lord, okay? Because Esau is going to put everyone's back against the wall. But as it says here in Revelation 2:10, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. So we have to be faithful unto death, man. And what's the Lord going to do? He's going to give us a crown of life, So, it's about holding the line. It's about enduring. It's about doing the hard things, man. Revelation 3:10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, these scriptures, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. All right, that's when Esau he comes down with great wrath, and he mandates the MOTB. You can't buy or sell unless you take it. You can't operate in society unless you're hooked up with the grid. Right now it's voluntary to get an electric vehicle. Soon it's going to be compulsory. You have to. Emission standards bullshit, health and safety, all of that, So that's the hour of temptation, man, where Esau goes full-fledged with his draconian measures, man, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. So this is something that's going to happen on a worldwide scale, okay? And what does it say in the 11th verse? It says, behold, I come quickly, hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. All right, so we have to hold on to this truth for dear life. If you've ever engaged in trading, whether it be Forex or cryptocurrency, there's a term that they have called hodl. Hodl means to hold on for dear life. Let's say, for example, you've bought the dip, right? So you bought the dip now. You can see it rising. So you bought the dip. So let's say you bought it here, right? And then it started to rise again. It's got to rise again. It's got to about here, and then it started to dip. Now what most inexperienced people may do is, because they see it dipping again, they're gonna sell, right? Rather than hodl, which is the term which means to hold on for dear life. Because remember, it was about here. So it rose up to about here, and then it dipped. And then when it shoots back up, it may shoot back up to that here. So imagine if you stayed from buying here, right? It came here, it came about here, it dipped, and then it came back up here, and then you sold here instead. You know, so it's the same with this truth, man. Just hold on for dear life. There's going to be a lot of situations, a lot of times where certain things play out, and you know, might not necessarily have the answers, you might not necessarily have the understanding why it's being done in this way. What is it? That's why there's emphasis on the Lord's Prayer, man. The Lord's Prayer talks about, let thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, man. You have to be comfortable and accepting of the will of the Heavenly Father, because you got to understand that the Heavenly Father has written parts in his own story where his comely and delicate woman is getting popped, pretty much. You know, I'm talking about the nation of Israel. He's written in the story parts where his chosen people are subjugated. The Most High has written parts in the story where he's actively got, you know, Job 9:24, the earth given into the hand of the wicked, engaging in all abominable acts that angers the Lord, and the Lord has to sit there and watch it play out because it's his story, bro. So you have to do that as well, and understand that certain things in your life are going to play out that you necessarily ain't, you'd rather it went another way. Hey, think about the Garden of Gethsemane moment where Howard Shire had, you know, he prayed to the Father for an alternative way. And what was his response? So Yahweh Shai knew he had to go with it, man, because his response was nothing. There's no alternative, bro. This is the way, walk ye in it. It's the same with us, man. You need to understand that no matter what it is, your everything is governed by the will of the Heavenly Father, man. Alright? Read Job 33, and the 15th verse. Alright? 2 Corinthians 2:11 says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. We see what's going on, E. We see these data centers being built up everywhere. We see the digitization of money. Okay? We see this grid system being set up right underneath our noses. We see it all, bro. We are not ignorant of Satan's devices because we've been given that through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahshua, we've been given the eye salve to see what the fuck's going on, bro. So Lord willing of the elect, Satan, Esau can't pull the wool over our eyes. You crazy? We see it clearly, man. But that's why, again, pertaining to the title of this lesson, let's hold Ephesians 6:10. It says, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Be strong in Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, man. Alright? And in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Alright, let's go to the blue letter. Let's see what it says for the word wiles. W-I-L-E-S. Right, so it's Strong's G3180, Methodia. Alright, the method, man. Outline of biblical usage: cunning arts, deceit, craft, trickery. Okay, so we're not ignorant of the wiles of this devil, man, because we put on the whole arm of the Most High, which begins with the true wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of these scriptures, man. Then you got your prayers, you got your fasting, rehearsing the righteous acts, being brotherly, things like that, man. Because the Heavenly Father sees all. It says in verse 12, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, which are demons, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." And spiritual wickedness happens amongst the rulers of the darkness of this world. Okay? So we're in a time where we got to buckle down, be strong in the Lord, pray without ceasing, utilize everything that we can within our spiritual arsenal, because, you know, when it's all said and done, right, you know, right, we can only be saved of our own works, you know? We can only work out our own salvation with fear and trembling. So we just got to make sure that we're doing the things that we need to do to, you know, ensure the best possible chance that we be found of the elect, you know. But really, it's, you know, it's already preordained. But, you know, I guess that's the kind of beauty of it, because if you knew you was of the elect, you might just piss about. You know, you might not be as diligent. You might not reverence the Lord as much, things of that nature. So, yeah, just got to put our best foot forward, man, and pray that we have the strength to endure the wicked times that are ahead of us. All right, so I'm going to wrap up here for this video. I pray, Lord willing, it's been edifying. And until the next time, I say shalom. Stay up, stay strong.